Greetings, Joe here. It might be a little bit late in the month, but I did not do an August channel update, so I thought I would probably do that. And maybe I'll just do these middle-ish of the month, and I know it's later than that too, but August has been a busy month, so I did want to kind of look at what happened for the channel in July, briefly, and then also just talk about what's coming up, what plans I have for the channel for, going forward, for the week or so that's left in August, plus what's coming up in September and so on and so forth, because I do have some ideas on things I'd like to do, ways I'd like to go with the channel, maybe try a few different things. In general, the channel really started in, end of March, early April of 2022. So we're talking basically not quite a year and a half ago. First video was posted, I think, at the beginning of March of 22, but then there was like a 3 or 4 week gap, and it was just one introductory video, which is still up if you want to see the very first video I ever did for the channel, which I think was called Introduction to the Legend Sport Channel, because that's what the channel was called at first, before I changed to Hexed Encounter. But in that time, I've done some experimenting with various things, trying to figure out what fits, what works, what doesn't. Obviously, I have an interest in war games, I have an interest in sports games, I have an interest in strategy games, I have an interest in role-playing games. And I've not done any role-playing stuff for the channel, and I don't know if I will or I won't. I've done a couple of strategy things, not too much. Hasn't been received all that well, I should say. And the sports stuff has been a little up and down, and it has been a lot spottier than I originally envisioned it being. Most of my sports gaming is actually done on the PC. I do have some tabletop stuff. I'm a big fan of the Play Games line of games, and I do hope to do some stuff with some of their games here as kind of an ongoing series type thing. So I'm going to discuss this in more detail as part of the update. I just wanted to do an intro, which has gotten longer than I hoped it will. But let's first take a look at the numbers that the channel did in the month of July of 2023.
Okay, let's start off with views. We got 13,500 views in July. That is up 10% more than June. Our watch time was 1.7 thousand hours, which was up 12% over June. Our subscriber count rose by 123 subscribers. That is awesome. I really appreciate you guys that have signed on in July and or in August, or anyone at all. Let's not forget the guys who've been around for a while. But that was approximately similar to what we had in June. Our top content in July, number 1 spot went to Western Front Ace, the gameplay video. That had 551 views. Second place was also Western Front Ace, which was the first look video. That one had 519. So apparently Western Front Ace was a good video or good game for me to cover in July. Third was Oceans of Fire, the first look for that, which actually was posted towards the end of the month in July. And that got 510 views. That's also a game that I feel like needs more content. And if I can wade my way through the rule book, which is 90 plus pages long, I would like to do a gameplay video on that one at some point. It also has a fairly large map, which doesn't fit great on my main table, so I would probably have to set up a secondary table to do that on, but that's logistical and totally possible to do. Fourth place, A Most Fearful Sacrifice. The first look at that game got almost 500 views, 498, and that was actually posted on July 1st. That is another one I would love to do a playthrough video for, and I will get around to doing so at some point. In the 5 spot is a game I did way back in January, and that was a first look at Football Coach College Dynasty. This one has been a consistent performer for me, which just says, Joe, you should do more content on this game. I mean, it's 6 months in, and it clocked 448 views for me, which was good for 5th place. 6th place was Border Reavers. The first look for that got 442. My actual war game news, the crowdfunding pre-order new release news item from July 21st, actually got 420 views for 7th. My solo playthrough of Palestine from the British Way 4-pack got 419 views. That was actually posted in May, so that's pretty good that it has some staying power. The Barracks Emperor's First Look got 349 for 9th place. And in 10th place was one of my Panzer Grenadier platoon level game looks, and that was the gameplay video for Fire in the Steppe, which of course is Panzer Grenadier. And that one got 322 views. That was actually one of the first game. I think that was the first game I did. So that's a look at the videos and the kind of analytics stuff from July for my channel. August has been going pretty well, pretty much in line with what we saw in July. So that's good. The performance it has pretty much maintained. And my subscriber base is rising, which I really love. We're approaching 1,800 now, and that's great considering, like I said, my channel's only been around for a little under 18 months. So 100 a month, I'll take that for basically a war game, sports game channel. So having said all that, thank you for your support. And now let's talk about what I'm going to be doing. So the first thing that you'll probably see in the next couple days will be the gameplay video for Platoon Commander Deluxe, which will wrap up the platoon level tactical series, at least possibly. I do mention this, I think, in the video. I'm not done editing it yet, but I do mention that I am considering adding 2 games to that. GD42 from Multiman Publishing / The Gamers, as well as Fighting Formations, the first game in that series, the Großdeutschland Division. And, both of those are also platoon level tactical. They're very different well, I shouldn't say very different. They are different mechanically from the other games, which are relatively similar in terms of how they all play, the 4 of them. Especially if you compare, say, Nations at War and Platoon Commander Deluxe. Those have a lot of DNA shared between the 2 systems, I think. And Panzer Grenadier and Warstorm series are also somewhat similar. So I feel like the comparison between those 4 is a lot easier, and it's more apples to apples than if I throw in, the tactical combat series from MMP and the Fighting Formation series from GMT. That's not to say I don't want to do that. I'm just not sure how well it fits, but you guys are welcome to weigh in. I know some of you, I'm sure, have played either or both of those series and would have thoughts on whether they fit, aside from the fact that they're both platoon level tactical. So feel free to chime in. I do mention this in the video again. I'm pretty sure that I did say that while I was shooting it. After that, I'm planning on doing a playthrough of North Africa 41. That video has done very well. The first look video for that game has done very well by my standards for the channel. So I feel like I would like to do a gameplay video for that one. I will also be doing a gameplay video for South Pacific from Avalanche Press, Second World War at Sea series. That's one that I'm just now trying for the first time, and I actually find it to be really interesting, and it's not overly complex, although there is a lot going on. I'm a sucker for Pacific War games. I've mentioned that before, and I wasn't. Yeah, the naval stuff, the Marines, all of that Pacific War stuff, I find pretty much endlessly fascinating, I guess you could say. So I'm always on the lookout for Pacific War games, and South Pacific's a big game with a lot of counters. 2 tactical maps. One of them is specific to Iron Bottom Sound, and the other one is kind of your generic tactical map. If you're familiar with Second World War at Sea or Great War at Sea, you'll be familiar with that aspect of it. There's just there's a lot of counters in that game. It took me a long time to punch them all out. So that's on the docket as well. I may do a gameplay video on Oceans of Fire. Speaking of the Pacific War, that's a pretty big game as well. It's got an almost 100-page rule book that I'll have to get through and do something with. But that looks like a fun game, strategic level Pacific War. And then I also have other things that I've picked up that I haven't even touched yet. I have Mr. President from GMT. I have also Pendragon or Plantagenet. I keep mixing those two names up. It's the P and the Britain, I think, but it's Plantagenet, the new Coin Series game. I have that. That's not Coin Series either. Boy, I'm on a roll today. That is Levy and Campaign Series. Coin Series, I do have Liberty or Death, which is an older one. I think that's the 6th game, which was Harold Buchanan's entry in the series covering the American Revolution. That's another topic on which I am pretty fascinated, I guess. So I'm looking forward to playing that. Assuming that the prequel to Fire in the Lake comes from GMT next month, that could conceivably be something that jumps to the top of the queue, because I do want to play that game as well, Vietnam War. I've got a bunch of I've got infantry attack stuff from Avalanche Press. I've got some sports stuff that I want to do as well. So I kind of teased this a little bit, but I have some play game stuff that I would like to get in there. Maybe some racing stuff, some wrestling stuff, some golf, some football, maybe even some baseball. There's just a lot there. I have almost all the games that Keith Avalone has produced. They're what's the best way to describe them? Because they're not like Stratomatic or APA or anything like that where it's very replay oriented. They are more designed to give the, I guess, realistic flavor, I would say. They're not going to match the numbers exactly, most likely. They'll be close, but they're not slavishly devoted to numbers, and there's some of them at least are very narrative based, so you get more of a story of how these sporting events occur. And that to me is really interesting. And it's why I played like Gregory Smith's games, because they're, you're kind of along for the ride. And I know that turns some people off, and I get it. But to me, I like the narrative. I like the story. I'm a frustrated writer, so, story has always been important to me, and I love a good story. So that's probably why I enjoy those games. Because, yeah, you are along for the ride, and you're rolling on tables, and, maybe it's more of like a roll your own adventure, or what was that called? Choose your own adventure books that I had when I was a kid, where you turn to page 87 to see what happens next, things like that. So I enjoy that kind of stuff. But anyway, I'm digressing a whole lot. This is probably getting really long, so I'm going to wrap it up. But that's kind of where things are going, and those games I mentioned at the beginning of this, segment are the things that will be coming up soon. So Platoon Commander Deluxe, North Africa, South Pacific, those are the first 3 for sure in there. Beyond that, there'll be some flexibility. I really, I want to, the Platoon level series, something will happen with that. It'll either be the wrap up on the 4 games, or I will decide to add Tactical Combat Series and Fighting Formations, and I'll do something on those 2 games, and then I'll wrap it up, which would probably push the ending of the series into September, late September at least, probably. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, that's going to do it for now. I don't want to ramble on too much longer. So thank you as always. I do appreciate you guys watching and participating by commenting or liking and sharing, and definitely subscribing. I know I ask for that a lot. I try not to beat people over the head with it too much, but I feel like if I don't ask, it won't happen, or it might happen. But, I guess in general, if you enjoy it, please consider liking it at least. And, if you want to share or, even better, subscribe, that would be awesome as well. The channel is growing. I am happy with the progress that I've been making. So I do want to say that. And I do want to thank everybody for your support. So until next time, I'm going to sign off now. My name's Joe. This is Hexton Countered. And as always, happy gaming.